Hi, hello, how are y'all doing today? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Keely and it's so good to have you here. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a new game that's been taking the internet by storm, PALWORLD. PALWORLD is an open world survival crafting game where you can catch, battle, and collect creatures called pals. A testament to its popularity so far, the game released on January 19th, 2024 and saw over 1 million downloads in the first 8 hours being released. In its first weekend, it reached the milestones of both top selling game globally and the most concurrent games globally. That's like Game of the Year numbers. So, what's the problem? Over the past few weeks, I've heard PALWORLD referred to as Ark meets Pokemon, Pokemon with guns, and even the Pokemon killer. But I don't actually have a problem with any of these, and I don't think anyone else does either. There's a finite number of game genres out there, and most devs are inspired by their favorite games to make their own. It's also human nature to be comparative. I feel like every time there's a new game being talked about, I'm always hearing, it's like Minecraft meets Stardew Valley, it's like Dark Souls, etc., etc. And truly, I think these kind of descriptors can be very helpful when trying to decipher if you might enjoy a new game. Some of my favorite games wouldn't even exist if it weren't for inspiration, such as Stardew Valley, which developer Concerned Ape has always clearly stated was heavily inspired by his own love of the Harvest Moon franchise. However, while I think that inspiration is good and similar gameplay mechanics are inevitable, I draw the line at directly ripping something off or at stealing assets, which is where the PALWORLD controversy comes in. Controversy number 1, plagiarism. A number of pals, the catchable creatures in PALWORLD, are incredibly reminiscent of certain Pokemon. They also each have an elemental typing, are captured in balls called pal spheres, and as you collect them, you fill out your pal deck. To get an idea of just how inspired the game really is, I wanted to watch this 1-minute gameplay trailer and see just how many pals remind me of Pokemon. That is a Latios. Maybe a Paradox Latios. It's got like the Iron Moth. Piplups. It's a Pinsir. It's got Empoleon's crown, but I don't think that quite counts. That was a Primarina. I do like the character creation. I wish Pokemon had better character creation for sure. Can't see any of these guys too well. That is, what's his name? Cobalion? That legendary? That is a Leafeon pop figure. Like, those are Leafeon pop figures. A Pansage. You cannot convince me otherwise. That was just Electric Totoro. Not a Pokemon, but Electric Totoro. Faction leaders. Oh, she is a gym leader for even the way she threw that. Tell me that didn't look like a gym leader. Well, oops. Aside from just those ones, people have been all over the internet picking apart different pals for their Pokemon similarities, and there's a few. There was some unique pals, but definitely more than a couple that seemed a little familiar. Of the 111 pals, over a quarter of them have been called out for looking just a little too close to certain Pokemon. A few pal designs also seem to be kind of Franken Pokemon, pulling distinct features from a couple of different Pokemon to create something new, but not quite new enough. If you want to see a more exhaustive list of similarities, I'll link this Twitter thread by user Cecilia Faye in the video description. On top of calling out these visual similarities, some people have gone even further to prove this as plagiarism by actually comparing the models and sprites side by side. Take a look at this clip from Twitter user BYOFrog comparing the pal Boltmane to a model of the Pokemon Luxray. While they're not identical models, they're similar enough to raise an eyebrow at for sure. They've compared a few different models in this way, and to me, the similarities seem a little too close to be coincidental, but without any hard evidence, I will let you make up your own mind on whether or not there's validity to this claim. There's also been a lot of backlash directed at those calling out this alleged plagiarism as well, so let's take a look at some popular rebuttals. There's over 1,000 Pokemon by now. Some of them are bound to be the same just by coincidence. Of course. Pokemon doesn't own the rights to animals, and any game dev is allowed to create their own creature based on a penguin or a hedgehog, but some of these similarities are just uncanny. If it were just a couple, it would be easy to pass off as coincidence, but unfortunately there's just too many for it to feel that way. There's a lot of games that have been compared to Pokemon in the past, with similar creature collection mechanics that just haven't been a collection of copycats. Take a look at Temtem, Yokai Watch, or Dragon Quest Monsters. These are all monster catching RPGs with entirely unique characters and stories. Well, actually, Pokemon is bad too. I've heard that they also steal art. You're right. Let's talk about it. Pokemon has also been criticized in the past for possible art theft and blatant inspiration without credit. Let's take a look at this TikTok by user Pragmagic calling out some examples.
Pokemon may be taking ideas from the Fakemon community. There are a few examples in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet of concepts or designs for Pokemon that are a little too similar to certain Fakemon. Fakemon artist Bulbyboy took note of a striking similarity between a Fakemon he made back in 2020 and the new Pokemon Palafin, even down to it having multiple forms. Another creator, Diego Monster Lab, showed that the new Pepper Pokemon Scovillain looks almost identical to his Fakemon Burniper. Another example is Tauronchila, who looks very much like Weavara from Ada's Fakemon.
So, well, it looks like Pokemon has also done similar things in the past. Two wrongs do not make a right. I don't believe that calling out Pokemon for stealing ideas justifies Palworld in stealing at all. We should be critical of both situations. I will never claim that Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, or Nintendo are some all-perfect beings. All corporations deserve to be called out and held accountable for suspicious behavior. Some people have also been saying things along the lines of, we should all play Palworld to send Game Freak a message that we want better games, and I just don't think that's gonna work. Yes, the last few Pokemon games have been criticized for being buggy and glitchy on release, and I too want Game Freak to fix that. But Pokemon Scarlet Violet still sold over 10 million copies in their first week, and if this was actually about sending Game Freak a message, just don't buy the next Pokemon game. Play Palworld if you want, I can't tell you what to do, but I think this logic behind it is a little bit silly. Does Pokemon even care? I feel like everyone's just virtue signaling and trying to cancel Palworld when Nintendo doesn't even care. Honestly, it's hard to know if they care for sure or not because they've made no formal statement regarding the matter. But so actually, update. I kid you not, I filmed this entire video. I went to go get a snack. I dropped my phone. I finished filming this whole video, get a snack, and then go on Twitter not 20 minutes later to see that now Pokemon actually has released a statement. So I'm going to read that out for you. Inquiries regarding other companies' games. We've received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. The Pokemon Company. Now, while they don't call out pocketpair or PALWORLD directly, it is pretty clear who they're talking about, and that's pretty serious for Pokemon to release a statement. So that's interesting. They might actually consider proceeding with legal action if they have grounds to stand on. So I, for one, am definitely interested to see how that might play out. But anyways, back to me 20 minutes ago. During the height of the controversy on Twitter during Palworld release weekend, Nintendo of America tweeted a random gameplay clip of Scarlet and Violet, which is something they don't often do. And while I was watching Charlotte VGC regionals on the official Pokemon Twitch channel on January 21st, I noticed the chat moderators quickly deleting any messages mentioning Palworld. Regardless of if Nintendo decides to escalate the plagiarism accusations, most people who are upset about this matter are more upset on behalf of artists than of Pokemon as a company. While Luxray and Primarina may be Pokemon IP, real artists designed them. And just because they were designed for a popular game doesn't make it okay to just steal them without credit. I know some people just don't care about this.
Artists' opinions don't matter.
But personally, I think that's a harmful mentality, and artists and other creatives deserve to have their work be valued and respected just like anyone else. You know, it's not all bad. It's not even like Palworld is the same kind of game as Pokemon at all. To give credit where credit is due, I know the whole game is not a direct ripoff. For example, instead of evolving to become new pals, there's a fusion mechanic. The actual gameplay of Palworld doesn't seem like Pokemon at all either, being more of a survival game like Ark than anything else. Because of the distinct difference in gameplay, I really don't see this as a Pokemon killer at all, just a game in a different genre that happened to borrow some assets. Unfortunately though, the controversies do not end here. Controversy number 2. Slavery. I wish I was making that up. A large component of Palworld involves putting your captured creatures to work by having them build stuff in your base, or even having them fight for you. This seems fine and not that different from Pokemon even, but where it gets messed up is that you can also capture the humans and treat them exactly like your pals. Yes, making them build stuff and fight for you. Palworld has in-game slavery. And if that wasn't problematic enough, you can also sell your pals, and therefore also your humans, on the in-game black market. Don't worry though, when you catch a human, it gives a little on-screen pop-up to remind you that on Palpargos Island, capturing humans in Palspheres is considered inhumane. Truly not sure if this attempt at self-awareness makes it better or worse. I've also seen a number of creators, particularly white creators, passing this off as a haha funny joke, which just doesn't sit right with me. Controversy number 3. More plagiarized games. If PALWORLD's seeming asset theft was the first example of the studio ever doing this, it might be easier to turn a blind eye to, but unfortunately that's not the case. pocketpair, the developer behind PALWORLD, has previously been caught in a couple of other similar situations. Most similarly, their 2020 release Craftopia has often been referred to as a Breath of the Wild clone. It shares a similar world, gameplay mechanics, and even features near identical monsters to fight. On top of being a blatant ripoff, recent reviews for Craftopia are nearly all negative, criticizing the game for still being in early access with few updates even 4 years after release, and saying that the devs have all but abandoned the project in favor of PALWORLD. pocketpair actually has another game slated for release in Q1 of 2024 titled Nevergrave: The Witch and the Curse. This isn't out yet, so I won't say too much, but just from the trailer and the images available on its Steam page, the gameplay and art style might just look a little familiar to any Hollow Knight fans out there. And honestly, if they're ripping off assets from Hollow Knight, I hate that even more. While no theft is cool, theft from indie artists and developers is much more harmful than theft from corporations. Controversy number 4. Generative AI. In a similar vein to art theft, the team behind PALWORLD have previously been vocal about their support for generative AI, or in other terms, using computers to generate imagery rather than hiring actual artists. In 2021, Takuro Mizobe, CEO of pocketpair, tweeted showing how easy it would be to create new Pokemon using AI. And in 2022, said that if you pass it through the filter of AI, the image is often not of a specific thing, so maybe the copyright issue could be resolved? This has definitely raised some hesitations regarding his general opinion on utilizing or flipping copyrighted assets. To be fair, PALWORLD itself does not seem to use any AI-generated art or other assets, and thanks to Steam's new AI content policy, it would have to be disclosed as such if it did. While PALWORLD itself does seem safe from AI, the same cannot be said for all pocketpair releases. In 2022, the studio released a game titled AI Art Imposter, a Jackbox-style social deduction game utilizing artificial intelligence. In this game, players provide written prompts to create AI art and have to guess which player had a different prompt than the rest or something. Despite exploring both the Steam page and the pocketpair website, I've been unable to find any information regarding where the art that was used to train this AI was sourced, leading to me believe it's likely stolen. Note that this 2-year-old game also still remains in early access. AI and the ethics behind it have been a hot button topic for a little while now, especially with the rise of accessible AI programs like ChatGPT and Midjourney. And while there are lots of positive applications of artificial intelligence, its role in the art space is not one. The issue with AI art, for anyone unfamiliar, aside from the fear of stealing jobs from human artists, is that these programs need to be trained. They can't just magically know what a tree or a cat looks like. This training process typically involves showing it thousands of images of different objects that it can commit to memory and then can use as a basis for generating new pictures. If I, for example, ask an AI art program to draw me a picture of a black and white cat wearing a collar with a bow, it's going to dig into its knowledge pool to identify black, white, cat, collar, bow, and then jigsaw together hundreds or thousands of pieces of information that it has learned to create a cohesive, seemingly brand new image. Essentially, AI art does not exist without real art, and the art that gets used to train these AI programs never gets credited despite being the reason for their success. TLDR, more art theft. Controversy number 5. Crypto. Another red flag raised by a number of PALWORLD skeptics is the CEO seeming to be a big fan of cryptocurrency and NFTs. According to the pocketpair website, their CEO founded a crypto exchange platform just 1 year before starting pocketpair. A lot of people dislike or are at least skeptical of cryptocurrency due to a high prevalence of scams, its lack of regulation, and especially its negative impact on the environment. So supporting a game studio so enthusiastic about it is certainly a concern, particularly amid rumors, albeit unlikely rumors, I hope, of potential future NFT integration into PALWORLD itself. I stumbled across this one article stating that PALWORLD already uses NFT integration, allowing users to own their in-game PALs items and more on NFTs, but I think it's just wrong and untrue. There's no basis for that information. While PALWORLD itself doesn't seem to be involved with the crypto space, the developers behind it certainly are. Obviously, everyone has a different opinion on crypto, so this might not be a deterrent for all, but it's certainly been a topic of conversation surrounding the game. In conclusion, due to the plethora of red flags surrounding it, I'll personally probably be staying away from PALWORLD for the time being, but I would love to see some evidence from the team backing up the art models used as fully original, and would also love to see the dev team take a stance against using generative AI for future works. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. If you're a PALWORLD fan, or if you're a skeptic, if you think these claims are justified or not. I would love to hear it. Regardless of if we have the same opinion or not, if you made it this far in the video, I freaking appreciate you. Thank you for watching and spending this video with me. Make sure to like and subscribe to hopefully catch the next one, and I will see ya later. Goodbye.